For decades, the Sahel was called independent, but independence with foreign troops, independence with foreign currency control, independence with foreign companies extracting gold, uranium, and oil. Was it ever truly freedom? Today, something historic is happening in Africa. Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger. Together, they formed the Alliance of the Sahel States, the AES. And they didn't just make speeches. They made a decision that shook the world. They told France, leave. For generations, France maintained deep control in these nations, militarily, economically, and politically. French troops, French influence and security, French companies tied to natural resources. But the people of the Sahel began asking, if we are rich in gold, why are we poor? If we have uranium that powers cities abroad, why are our lights off? If we are sovereign, why do foreign soldiers patrol our land? The AES answered that question with action. They expelled French forces, they ended military agreements, they began defining who controls their future. This wasn't just politics, it was psychological liberation. After the break, something else started happening. These nations began pushing to regain control of their resources: gold, uranium, oil, agriculture, land. For the first time in decades, the conversations shifted from what do foreign partners want to what do our people need. Because the resources don't just build economies, they build dignity. When a nation controls its wealth, it controls its destiny. The AES is trying to turn resource wealth into roads, energy, security, and development, not just exports. But here is where things get even deeper. This is not only an economic revolution, it's a symbolic revolution. Across these countries, French colonial names on the streets are being changed. Monuments that honored colonial figures are being removed, and in their place, African warriors, African leaders, African resistance heroes. This is not random. This is psychological nation building. Because everyday people walk past monuments. Children grow up seeing statues. Citizens learn history from what stands in stone. If a nation's heroes are all foreign, what does that say about its story? This is about how Africans see themselves. For centuries, African history was told through the lens of the colonizers. But now in the Sahel, the message is changing. You are not the conquered. You are the descendants of warriors. When a child walks past the statue of an African resistance fighter, instead of a colonial general, something shifts. Confidence, belonging, pride, possibility. Nations are not built only with money. They are built with belief. And belief comes from identity. What is happening in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger is bigger than 3 countries. It's a message echoing across Africa. Political freedom is not enough. Economic freedom is not enough. Cultural and psychological freedom matter too. Who we honor, who we remember, who we teach our children to admire shapes the future. Because the people who see themselves as powerful act differently than a people who are taught they are powerless, than a people who are taught to see something other than themselves as their savior and a demigod. This path is not easy. Breaking from former powers comes with risks, pressure, and challenges. But the AES countries are making a bold statement. They would rather struggle on their own terms than prosper under someone else's shadow. That choice alone marks a turning point in African history. This is more than politics. It's about memory, dignity, identity. The Sahel is not just changing leaders, it's rewriting its story. And when people rewrite their story, they rewrite their future. Because the image a nation sees in the mirror determines how strong it believes it can be. And the AES is saying, it's time Africa sees itself. Three great men, Traore of Burkina Faso, Assimi Goïta of Mali, and Tchiani of Niger. These men are bringing back Africa to its great dignity. But here is the thing. They only have a certain amount of time here. No one is here permanently, and eventually their regime will be done. But in order to continue this greatness into the future, it must have a youth that sees themselves as powerful and beautiful. This is why there must be a re-education of the African, and changing the names, French names to Burkinabe names, to African names. Having monuments of its leaders are very important, because when these children see themselves as great people and as have been shown by their leaders, they will continue this mindset that will ensure that the next regime and the next set of people will continue the legacy. The name of Sankara continued with a like-minded person like Traore. And for the torch to continue, we need another like-minded person. And this is the beginning. History and images of Africans seeing themselves in themselves, because how you see yourself is how you see yourself. I hope that didn't go over your head. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, and share.